I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 329. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. Boy, it's getting to be a hot, hot summer, isn't it? Is it hot where you are? I wonder. Anyway, I have, as usual, something lovely planned for you today. And I say lovely because I'm introducing you to one of my clients that I just finished working with. Her name is Cynthia, and she agreed to get interviewed on this podcast. It's a video interview. So you can always go to drdebbutler.com/329 if you would like to see this video. Or as always, you can just listen to the audio. Now, with Cynthia, I just want to tell you a few things about her before you listen to this interview, because you may relate to some of the things that she's gone through and you may not. But with Cynthia, she is a runner. She's been a runner her whole life. And she actually has been listening to my podcast for about 4 years now. And she says she's listened to a lot of them more than once. And she actually came on my podcast a couple years ago as a podcast listener and had me coach her on eating sugar. Anyway, fast forward another 2 years, and she finally decided that she needed help and that she couldn't do it by herself, that she understood the tools and everything I said resonated with her, but she just couldn't get into her own brain and coach herself. So she decided to hire me. And in this podcast that you're going to hear about her journey. And one of the things about her journey that I think is really important for you to note is that, she lost maybe 3 pounds while she was working with me. She wanted to lose maybe 8 or 9, and she didn't. And her process for becoming non dramatic about the scale is something worth listening to, and how she has lost all of the drama around food for her. Because as you'll hear in this interview, sweets and treats were her thing. And she made very, very good chocolate chip cookies. And she always felt like she should reward herself with them and eat a lot of them. She had a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts about sweets and treats. And through the process, as you'll hear in the interview, she really talks about how she learned how to handle emotions instead of eating them with sweets and treats. So, listen, this is going to be a good one. She is a beautiful, beautiful woman to listen to, and she has a lot to say. I loved working with her, and I know you will love listening to her. So, sit back, take a walk, take a bath, whatever it is you do, and listen to this beautiful interview I did with Cynthia. And at the end, I'll get back on and say a few other things. Enjoy. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Deb. It's very good to see you.
And it's very good to see you too. And I also would just like to say before we start that you did do a podcast with me. I don't know how long ago now.
It's been a couple of years.
A couple of years where you just came on and I coached you on, I don't remember even what, but
it was about sugar. It was about my desire for sugar all the time and sweets and treats. I just wanted to know what to do.
And so I guess I coached you.
Yes.
And helped you enough.
Yes. Yes. And that podcast, it helped me to see that all the, things that I had in this glorified category of sweets and treats, it was really just food. And I could shoot, it was just food. And
Yeah.
that was kind of a revelation to me because I'd always had it on this pedestal or something, like it was thing that I really craved and it made me
Yeah.
feel better and I just wanted it all the time. So when you were saying, well, it's just food, I was like, oh man, that I just felt like I was gobsmacked, And so I went away from that podcast thinking, okay, I can do this now.
Yeah.
I can do this. And so that was a couple of years ago. And I've been listening to your podcast
Yeah.
for at least 4 years because I
Wow.
started when you were at about podcast number 50 something.
Ah,
And when I first found the podcast, I had to drive for 6.5 hours. So I put the podcast on and I listened to you for the entire drive.
oh my God.
And so I learned everything and I just was cramming it in. And I thought, okay, this is my answer. And this is how I'm going to approach my life now and losing weight and just having a normal, what I call a normal relationship with food, where it's just not the be all end all, but it's just where it's supposed to be. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be fuel for my body.
Mhm.
And I could implement all of the tools,
Yes.
but the thing that was missing for me was for you to be able to point out what my thought was that led to the feeling. Because
Mhm.
I couldn't uncover it by myself. I would just, in the circumstance line, I would put, okay, the circumstance, and then I would go to the thought, and it would be more like a feeling. I
Mhm.
wasn't able to uncover what that thought was. And
Yes.
so that was really helpful to me when I actually started getting coaching for myself. It was more personal. And then I could use all of the tools that I already knew. You just helped me to work the model and figure out what my thoughts were. I mean, I was
Mhm.
aware of my thoughts, I thought, but
Right.
but I thought
Right.
I was aware of my thoughts, but
Yeah.
there were some underlying beliefs and feelings and things that happened that took me to where I was of having a sense of very much unease in
Mhm.
myself and emptiness in
Mm.
myself, like my heart would hurt
Oh.
and I would just try to feel better with my cookies and ice cream and all of that. And so when we started talking about that, it helped me to realize where all of that unease was coming from, those really uncomfortable feelings. And I was able to confront them, to let them be there and feel them. And
Mhm.
so I remember in probably the first month that we were working together, I felt very down. I felt very depressed.
In the first month
And
that we were working together, when you sent me emails and you were telling me how depressed and down you felt?
right. And
More
it
so.
was
Uh-huh.
because I was letting those feelings bubble up and
Mhm. Because
pass
why?
through
Why were
me.
they bubbling up?
Well, because I wasn't using food to smash them down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so you actually felt worse.
I did feel worse for about a month
Uh-huh.
and I didn't like it.
No, you
And
did not
I
like it. I
thought,
remember
oh
you not
boy,
liking it.
yeah. So I still don't like it very much, but I'm
Yeah.
getting much, much better at allowing it to be. And the longer I allow those feelings to be there and
Mhm.
just observe them and go, oh, well, I'm not feeling that great right now. And it's because I'm thinking that I probably really need to indulge myself with some cookies or ice cream.
Mhm. But you're really wanting
Um,
something sweet.
yeah, I always
Mhm.
wanted something. And it's so interesting because in my genetic report, it says prefers sweet over salty. Well, I
Interesting.
already knew that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was like,
Interesting.
duh, but it's there. So, okay, so there's hard scientific fact that that's a gene that I have in my family that we prefer sweet over salty. And I go, well, that's interesting. No wonder I've been seeking sugar my whole life. So now I can let it go.
Mhm.
I
So
can
what
let
you're
it go.
referring to is that you had a genetic test done a while ago and you learned some things about you. And one of the things that you learned is that you prefer sweet over salty. But you know what else is really, really interesting? And I want to kind of backtrack just a little bit with you about how you ended up working with me too while we're
Mhm.
talking about this. because you're divulging a lot of great information, but I want to put it in a context so people can understand why this journey started for you. And one of the things that I remember about you, like, do you remember why you decided to go from just listening to me to actually deciding that you wanted to work with me? Because it was probably 4 years of listening before you made that you made a
Yes.
mini session with me?
Yes, that's right. Because there were, I listened to the podcast multiple times for 4 years.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah, multiple times. And I
Yeah.
mean, I knew all the things that you were going to say, and I knew all the
Yeah.
tools, but I wasn't able to use it.
So you were
Use all the
listening to
tools.
me and you loved the tools and it
Hmm.
resonated with you, but you weren't able to actually implement it when it came to having urges and wanting your sweets that you speak of, because I
Yes, I
think it's
really wasn't able to coach myself very well. I could coach
right.
somebody else, but I
Probably could have.
really couldn't coach myself.
Which is
And
really important to note for people who are listening, that it's not unusual that you cannot coach yourself, right? And when you're up in your head, you're believing everything that's going on up there, and you're believing that these treats are as wonderful as you think they are. And you think, like I remember you saying to me many, many times, I think I should be able to eat this. I think I should be able to do this. And you had, especially, I want to talk about chocolate chip cookies with you because you liked specific chocolate chip cookie. Like you always said to me, it's not just any chocolate chip cookie, Dr. Deb. It's very specific chocolate chip cookies. And it's usually my chocolate chip cookies. And the other thing that I want people to understand about you that I remember when we first started working and listening to you in the mini session is that even though you don't have very much weight to lose. And some people would probably think you don't have any weight to lose. But for you, there's a certain weight that you want and you have not gotten there yet. But for you, you believe that you could not control yourself around food.
absolutely.
And that was a bigger problem for you, even than the number on the scale, is that you didn't believe, you thought that food had power over you, especially things like chocolate chip cookies. And I keep saying chocolate chip cookies because I want you to talk about that a little bit. It was very, very important in our coaching. And there might be people out there who have specific things that they really, really like that they think they should be able to eat. And so, like, I'd love for you to talk just a little bit about what it was like for you when you started working with me, because you already talked about that you absolutely felt emotionally worse because when you stopped having your sweets and treats and not eating them as often, you were definitely feeling things you never knew were really there because you were too busy eating your sweet treats. So you never knew you felt those emotions. So you didn't think you had a problem with emotions, I don't think, really.
That's probably true.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I didn't think I had a problem with emotions because I am
With
pretty,
feeling them.
yeah, I'm pretty self-controlled and
Yes, you are.
self-disciplined and all
Yep.
those things. But there was a void in me that I didn't know that was there. I mean, I
Yes.
kind of knew it was there because I had all these uncomfortable feelings of unease or emptiness. So, yeah, I was aware of it, but I shoved it away.
You
I
shoved
pushed
it
it down
away with sweets and
with
treats
chocolate chip cookies
that
and
you
ice
didn't know you were
cream and
doing. You
my
thought you just
desserts every
wanted them.
day.
You just thought you wanted them and you should eat them and you should have them and they tasted good. And you're Cynthia. I
Right.
mean, you should be able to
Uh,
eat chocolate chip cookies.
that's right. I did think that.
You
And
did think that. So once you started feeling a little bit worse, let's go from there.
once I discovered why and became painfully aware of why that
Yeah.
void was there and why
Yes.
I had this place that was empty inside,
Yes.
once I assigned that to the feeling, then I was able to understand myself and let go of the idea that the cookies, the dessert after dinner every night was filling me, was helping me feel better. And now those sweets and treats and all are in a different category for me than they were before. They're in a category more of, oh, it's a joy food and I can have it if I want it, but do I choose to have that right now?
Mhm.
Do I really want to have that? Is it going to really give me what I want? It's
Uh-huh.
not going to fill up that void.
Uh,
The void is there.
oh
And
my gosh,
maybe
Cynthia.
over time it will lessen, I hope. But I know that when I have anything about grief, I shut it down. I do not want to feel grief.
Mhm.
And I've had, in my long life now, I've
That's
had
right.
lots of situations where I have
Yeah.
felt grief, and I tend to deny it.
And the way that you were denying it over the years that we
Mhm.
learned as we worked together was
Mhm.
how?
Was my desserts. My dessert after dinner, I'd look forward to that. Making chocolate chip cookies or making a special chocolate cake,
Mhm.
not just any kind of cake, but one
Uh-huh.
that I loved, one that really made me feel kind of happy temporarily. And then
Uh-huh.
later, I would feel like, I probably really shouldn't have done that. It's not getting me to where I want to be. I'm a person that's very, very fit. I've been a runner for most of my life.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how I identify myself as being
Mhm.
somebody very fit and active. And I get overwhelmed with those feelings of grief, and I don't want to go there.
Right. But as everybody's listening to this, that's actually what you did. You're feeling it right now just talking
Yeah,
about it, aren't you? It's
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
that, to kind of give you a moment and for everybody to know that you can do this now. You
I
actually
can.
know it and
Mhm.
feel it. And you actually allow yourself to feel it and you don't have to fill it with your sweets and treats anymore. Is that right?
That is the perfect way to explain it, is that I can let that void or that
Yes.
grief, whatever I'm
Yes.
feeling, be there and sit through it without going, oh, I think I'll go make some chocolate chip cookies right now, because I want to shut this down.
That's right. As everybody's listening and as I'm working with you, it takes a lot of courage. You've been very brave going through this, because it's not like like in therapy, where you go back in your past and we talk about it and we talk about it and we talk about it. But we did go back and talk about it enough
Yes.
that it's good for people to see, because I'm not a therapist and we didn't do it therapy yet. At the same time, you just figured out what you were bringing into the present moment in your
Well,
mind from the past.
yes. And my plan when I
Hmm.
started working with you was to
Yeah.
be completely transparent and
Yes.
vulnerable. And so I allowed myself to do that. And that's when I could talk about situations that brought me grief and created a void and a hole in my heart. And those things, once they came up, I allowed them to come up. Then I could see that the cookies and the cake and the ice cream, all those things that I craved were just things that I was using to not feel all that unease.
Yes.
And so, since I'm committed to losing weight and I'm just a person that really wants to run and work out, and I choose the foods I eat based on what I want to obtain in the end and not just to fill my heart, fill that empty place.
Fill your heart with cookies,
Right.
because there's not enough cookies in the world to fill a hole in the heart.
No, because I've had millions and it's still not filled.
That's that's right. And so I would say, like, from you, when you're talking about this, is as I've gone through this process with you, you went from, we had a few weeks where we really did just deal with all the emotions that you were feeling. And I really helped you process them and feel them and
Yes.
not be afraid of them anymore, because I think you tried to stay away from them and were afraid of them. And what I saw in the process was, maybe after a certain period of time, you went from allowing yourself to feel that. And then it was more like you ended up in a space of more joy more of the time.
Hmm. Yeah,
of
I did.
well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I did get over that first hump of feeling pretty
Yeah,
crummy.
right. I
Uh,
want people to
but
know it's not like you stay there.
no, I didn't stay there. I actually, and I'm in a really good place right now, actually,
Exactly.
because not necessarily because of any weight loss, because I really have only lost like 2 or 3 pounds,
Uh-huh. And
but
we're going to talk
that's
about that.
okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's okay because I'm on the right path. And now I have a plan about the kind of fuel foods that I want to eat that are designed, that are specifically for my body based on my genes.
Genetics. Mhm.
Yes, based on my genetics and what I have to deal with. I mean, it's just the way it is that I have to deal with some of these genes that are not exactly helpful to my
Right.
life.
And so I think it's really important for people who are listening because you really have learned over the process that we have worked on what you thought fuel food was for you in the beginning. And as you went through the process, what you think fuel food is for you now
Hmm.
has changed. Another thing that I noticed with you is the amount of joy eats that you eat are so much less because, number one, of a certain weight that you want to weigh, but not just that. It's just that you know that the sweets and treats don't fill up the hole that you thought it would help. And so it's like, I think you think to yourself, why would I even bother? It's not even going to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than the number on the scale because I think that's really important. Like you've lost 2 or 3 pounds, but I think you've lost 100 pounds in mental stress.
Yes. The emotional baggage is much
Yes,
less. It
it's
really
much
is.
less. And do you
Hmm.
feel like you're in control of food now?
Yes.
Right. And just for everybody to really hear this, because you didn't have a lot of weight to lose in the beginning. And I know there's people here that are listening that only have maybe 8 to 10 pounds to lose. There's other people who are listening that have 100 pounds to lose. But the things that you're talking about is not a number problem on the scale. And for everybody that's listening, it's not the number on the scale, it's the burden that you were carrying, that you were willing to open up with about me, tell me things that you probably hadn't talked about in a long time, if ever. And then really reassessing how you wanted to fuel yourself. Like, what really does fuel you? Like, there's no emotions around if you want to eat things that will fuel you and that taste good, but also that fuel you and not just things that appeal to you.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. And, one of the things I wanted to tell you was
What's
that
that?
it was through the process of the food journaling and, talking to you every week and me not losing weight that I became, instead of getting on the scale and getting upset because I didn't lose weight,
Yeah.
I got on the scale and I went, wow, so this something is up here. And that the curiosity then caused me to delve into my genetic
Yes.
report that I'd had for 2 or 3 years already. And I started looking at specific recommendations
Yes.
and based on my genetics. And so
Yes.
that's kind of where I'm going now. It was a curiosity about why am I not losing weight? Because I'm certainly eating a very good diet and
You
not
cleaned your diet
overeating.
up a lot and started eating between the twos. And a lot to be said about you and for people who are listening, because I've done plenty of podcasts on the scale. And in the beginning, you kind of did want to throw a fit or two, a little tantrum, like, what is going on here? Right. I did a lot of coaching with you on that number on the scale so that you could have less emotions
Mm-hmm.
and that you could bring up curiosity for yourself. So it's like, you can get pissed off, and I don't know who you're going to get pissed off at that's going to help. But when you became curious about it for yourself, you start looking into things that could actually help you.
Yeah.
And especially for you, I want everybody to know when it's not an emotional, dramatic thing anymore, it's just a matter of finding the right way to do it because there's no emotion attached to the food anymore. You want to just say a little bit about that because I know you eat more for fueling and less for the emotionality of anything now. It's like,
Yes.
mhm,
I eat less for stuffing my emotions and also less for just seeking pleasure.
exactly.
And now I'm eating more for fueling my body because I want to be able to do the active things that I want to do. And I also want to feel lighter and leaner. So I'm choosing foods based on my goals instead of based on, well, that looks good. Oh, I see that. I want that.
Right. And just so everybody knows, that's where you used to live.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, you
and
don't sound like you live there anymore. So I just want everybody to know that is exactly where you did live.
I did. I ate food that tasted good to me. I just wanted something that I could get some pleasure from. And I think I needed that pleasure because of the thoughts that I was having, that I wasn't getting pleasure anywhere else.
Yep.
So
People the
now
seeds.
I've just been focusing on the pleasure that I get from feeling the way I do in control of food and not thinking about it all the time and being my own coach.
Absolutely. And that's another thing to say just about the process is that that is what my hope is for everyone. And it's happened for you is that I know that you can coach yourself, that you understand the way the model works, and that you can find out what's going on for you. And I've given you the tools where you can do it yourself. And it's really a phenomenal thing to watch.
Yes, I do feel that I can coach myself. I mean, probably maybe not as well as I want to, but I'm getting there.
Yep.
And I just feel a lot better about life in general.
Isn't
And
that interesting?
more,
Why do you think that is?
well, I have a lot of peace around food now. I don't have that all the drama and the heartache about what to eat. When am I going to get something good to eat, so-called good to eat?
Yep.
When can I make cookies? Well, let's see, I made them last week, so I shouldn't make them this week. All that stuff is gone.
Amazing. And,
And
just for everybody to hear, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, but this chocolate chip cookie thing was pretty big drama in your life. We're not talking just any old chocolate chip cookies. You really had a thing for your chocolate chip cookies and how many you would eat at any given time. And I don't want to go a lot into your past, but I think it would be helpful just for me to say that what we learned going into your past was that you started making chocolate chip cookies when you were really young, and it had a lot to do with your dad. And you learned so much about that part of your past and what
Mhm,
you brought into your present moment and how you learned how to basically heal that for yourself.
mhm.
And at the same time, know that there's just a void sometimes. It's just there.
Yes, and I really can't say it any better than that. I mean, that you expressed
Good.
how I feel and the process that I went through when I started making chocolate chip cookies. It was the beginning of a lifelong habit of making them for myself, for other people. I mean, I am like the chocolate chip cookie queen. And mine were really special. I was on a quest to find out the best way
Absolutely.
to make chocolate chip cookies. And it basically all started just as a habit because my dad, he had to go to Vietnam when I was 10
Yeah.
and he was gone for a year. And I didn't know at the time how to deal with it. He was just gone. And
And you
then,
were very, very young, and
yes,
your young mind, you made it mean something about love.
something. And so actually, chocolate chip cookies became love
Yeah.
for me. And that's
And
what
that
I've done with them for my whole life until recently.
up until recently,
Up
and
until
now
recently.
and
Yes.
now what's it like?
Now, when I go when I go to the store, I'm going, on a trip or anything like that, I'm not seeking chocolate chip cookies. I don't need them. I just don't
Why
need
don't
them
you need them?
anymore.
Why don't you need them anymore?
Because I know that they really don't accomplish what it is that I really need is to somehow help myself fill that void emotionally or to just sit through it.
Which is a way of helping yourself
Yeah,
through the void. It's a
right.
way that you're giving yourself your love, and that's what you were wanting.
Yeah.
And you can do that
That
for
was
yourself.
that was not easy to do.
No,
That
I
was
want
not
everybody to
easy.
know this was not
Yeah.
easy to do, but I want everybody to know that you were courageous and did it, and you're here to tell the tale that the drama of the chocolate chip cookies and
Mhm.
or the chocolate cake and anything else that you want to put in there is over.
Mhm. Yeah, it is over. And I have a lot more space in my life for other more fulfilling things.
Would you say your life is more fulfilling now?
It's more fulfilled now. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know how to deal with my emotions because I'm not shoving them down all the time, and I'm kind of sitting here and feeling them. And they don't last very long. I mean, especially grief, even profound grief doesn't come all at one time. It kind of comes in waves.
Is what
And
you've learned.
yes, that's what I've learned is that
Yeah.
it just comes in waves.
Uh-huh.
And I just go with the wave.
Yeah.
Like in the ocean, you just go with the wave and then float and then go with the wave and then float. So I just feel like I'm more who I am. Like I'm not fighting all the time with myself or fighting with my
More of who you
brain. I
were
don't know.
more of who you were meant to be.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And before we stop, I would love to talk about the email that you sent me when I did the podcast on the summer of no. And you sent me an email back, and I thought the email was so beautiful. And I don't know if you can remember what you said. I could remember if you don't. But if you wanted to just say why you liked that podcast so much and what it meant to you.
Well, the podcast came at a perfect time for me, for one
Yeah.
thing. And you talking about the summer of no, and I realized just in a flash that I had been confusing self compassion with self indulgence.
Hmm.
And I often in the past would soothe myself or love myself with the chocolate chip cookies or whatever, something sweet.
Yep.
And then the summer of no was like, oh my gosh, I can just say no. It doesn't mean that I'm on a diet because I'm very anti sort of diet oriented. It
Right.
doesn't mean that I'm on a diet. It just means that I'm saying no to something that isn't going to get me what I want
You're saying no. As I did the podcast, you're saying no out of love for yourself.
for myself. Out of kindness and compassion for myself, I am saying no
Uh-huh.
to
And
certain things and eating when I'm not hungry. And I'm
yeah,
saying no to an overindulgence in sweet things.
because it's not really an act of love.
It really isn't. I thought it was.
You
But
did
then
think
when
it
you did
was.
the
A lot of people
podcast,
do think it is,
yeah, I was
this
just
indulgence.
confusing being good to myself with self indulgence.
Yeah.
And
That
I
was your
was
email.
just indulging myself, really. So, yeah, I love the summer of no.
Yeah.
I'm
And
going
I
to have a
loved your
life of
email.
no.
The what?
I love the summer of
Yeah.
no, and I'm going to have a life of no to the things that don't help me.
Oh my gosh, Cynthia. And out of love. It's like, I think you used to think when you talk about indulgence, it's like if you were saying no to yourself, somehow you weren't really giving yourself what you really wanted.
That's right. And so I thought I was almost punishing myself for
Yeah.
saying no, or just being really strict and self disciplined by saying no. And that's not the same as saying no out of self love or self compassion. Is saying no to self indulgence.
You said it beautifully. It's exactly it. And I hope anybody who hasn't heard that podcast, it's a great thing to go listen to. And
Mhm.
you really just explained it so well for yourself. So I really appreciate that. And before we end, there's one more thing that I want to ask you, if you wouldn't mind sharing, is what would you say? Because you were listening to this podcast for a long time before you ever said yes to coaching.
Yes.
But what would you say to somebody who was in your shoes, is in your shoes where you were?
Hmm.
What would you say to them about working with me? What would you say like your experience was, and what would be your encouragement?
I would say that, first of all, you can learn a lot from the podcast. I mean, the information is there, you can use all the tools, but if you can't get into your own brain and analyze and pick apart your thoughts and figure out which thoughts and what your belief systems are by yourself, which I was not able to do, you definitely need Dr. Deb coaching because I'm pretty sure I was very, very aware of most of my thoughts.
You were.
But there were some very deeply held beliefs under the surface that I wasn't aware of. And you, through the coaching, brought them up. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't even know I was thinking that. Working the model by yourself is completely different from working it with you as a coach. There were things that you said that just made me stop and reevaluate and reanalyze, what I was actually thinking. And I couldn't do that for myself. I couldn't do it for myself. I tried.
You did try for 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. And would you say that you got what you wanted?
Yes, I did. I got what I wanted, which was peace around food. Yeah.
Wonderful. And would you say that you got yourself back and that you are who you were always meant to be finally?
Yes. Yes, I'm me, but without all the drama of food and the agony and agonizing over weight and food and what am I going to eat and when can I have something sweet? How many miles am I going to have to run to, work that off?
Yes,
That sort of
yes.
thing. Now that I'm older, I can't run that many miles. I can't. My body is just not to where it can do that. I mean, I can walk and do some walk run, but nowhere near what I was doing even 10 years ago.
Right. And so the main thing is about that is you were using exercise to try to help you get your weight together when you would overindulge.
Yes, a lot of it was that. I mean, mostly I ran because I love to run, and that's what I've been doing for since I was 25,
That's right. And you
over
still
40
do.
years.
And
So it's such good mental and physical therapy that it's what works for me. And it did allow me to have some extra treats now and then, and I was able to maintain my weight. But now, post menopause and looking at 70, I'm in a different body. And so I have to deal with the reality of that and focus my thoughts on what I can do.
beautiful. And to not use treats for anything other than it tastes good sometimes.
Yes, I use treats. Actually, I haven't had treats for quite a while, but when I do have a piece of candy or something, I have it just for that momentary pleasure. I don't have it for reasons of anxiety or I don't feel good or I'm mad or anything like that. I
You
have
don't use it to,
separated
that's
the
right.
emotions from the food. And
I
that's
love
where I
that.
have peace.
I love that. Cynthia, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I want to end with that you can separate your emotions from food.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that is the best gift you could ever give yourself.
Yes, and I thank you. I'm very, very grateful to you for all of the work that you did with me and being patient. And seriously, for about 3 months, you were my best friend. You really were.
Thank you.
And I am very grateful for that time. I was very, very sad when it ended.
Thank you. And I'm very sad too, because I feel the same way that you do. But also, I'm ecstatic because when you hear this podcast and I'm listening to you, I know you got what you wanted and what you
Yeah,
needed. And if me being your best friend is that it was a safe place for you.
right. It was.
And that is what I provide. And I am thrilled for you. So thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deb.
Well, what did I tell you about Cynthia? Isn't she just a lovely woman? I think the way she expresses herself and expresses her process and her journey is well worth listening to. And I just want to remind all of you that even though she didn't lose all the weight that she wanted, she has absolutely no drama about it. And she only has curiosity about it to try to figure out what is going to be best for her body, what's going to fuel her body the best through some genetic testing that she did, that it's just no drama anymore. There's no drama around food. She knows that she can control herself totally around food. And she knows that she can handle her own emotions. She can handle feeling the void, as she put it. So if this sounds anything like you, and I'm sure it does, and if she has inspired you and you would like to go through this process and be where she is now, which is drama free and at peace with food, then all you have to do is go to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and you can set up a mini session and find out if the process that I use will work for you, because I will be the first one to tell you if I can help you. And I also will be the first one to tell you if I can't. So if this is your summer where you decide to do what Cynthia did, then go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. And as always, no matter where else you go, no matter whatever you do today, please, please, please do what Cynthia does and be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.